Let me share a situation that comes up all the time in my coaching work. A leader was promoted to lead a struggling department while chairing a school fundraiser and coordinating parent care. She said, "Everyone expects me to fix everything. I'm exhausted even before I begin." Hello, and welcome to Revolutionary Leadership, the bi-weekly podcast that shines a spotlight on the visionary leadership approaches Black women have cultivated for generations, yet are too often overlooked. I'm Dr. Kerry Mitchell Brown, a culture architect, racial equity strategist, and scholar of organizational change. For more than 20 years, I have helped leaders, organizations, and communities reimagine what's possible when equity and authenticity guide the way. Each episode, we'll dive deep into conversations that illuminate how Black women integrate community care, radical self-prioritization, and collective capacity building into transformative leadership practices. Together, we'll expand what leadership can look like and what liberation through leadership truly means. Because this is where Black women's stories become tomorrow's blueprints. I am Dr. Kerry Mitchell Brown, and I am so excited that you are here today. I created this podcast because I believe in the brilliance of Black women's leadership. We've been transforming organizations and communities for generations, often without recognition. I named this podcast Revolutionary Leadership with intention because that's exactly what Black women have been doing for generations, revolutionizing how leadership shows up, creating approaches that honor our full humanity while driving transformative results. The subtitle, Where Stories Become Tomorrow's Blueprints, captures our mission. Your stories, your navigation, your innovations, your brilliance become practical blueprints that others can adapt in their own leadership journeys. I've spent over 20 years working with Fortune 500 companies, government agencies, nonprofits, community organizations. I've seen firsthand how Black women navigate systems that weren't built with us in mind. We don't just survive them, we transform them. Each episode brings honest conversations with groundbreaking leaders. We'll break it down into segments, revolutionary stories, where we get into the journey. Build Your Blueprint, where we extract frameworks you can use. Blueprint in Action, where I answer your leadership questions. So whether you're figuring it out at home, advancing in your career, or driving change in your community, this podcast gives you tools to lead with your whole self while creating lasting impact. This is a space where we celebrate joy and self-care as acts of resistance, where we explore how our experiences spark innovation, where we build community. Join us. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and let's continue the conversation and build together. And today, I am honestly so excited to dive into something I've been thinking about for years. You know that feeling when you've been sitting with something important and you finally get a chance to share it with people that you care about? That is exactly where I am right now. Here's what I want us to consider together. For too long, brilliant Black women have been forced into these limiting roles. I call them the savior and the scapegoat. And listen, these roles show up everywhere in our lives. Let me paint a picture for you. The savior role. That's when everyone looks at you and says, "Oh, thank goodness you're here. You're going to fix everything," right? The pressure is immediate, and honestly, it is exhausting. You're expected to have all of the answers, Work miracles rather you can scrape together. Sacrifice your well being for everyone else's benefit. Then there's the scapegoat, where you get blamed when decade old problems don't automatically disappear. Yes, I said automatically. It's this awful pattern. Unrealistic expectations meet inevitable human limitations. Now, here's what's interesting: these roles don't just live at work, they follow us home, into our families, into our communities, into our spiritual spaces. I'm curious, are you already recognizing these patterns in your own life? Let me share something personal that really crystallized this for me. I was the inaugural executive director at SEIU's Racial Justice Center. Walking into that role, I could feel the weight of impossible expectations settling on my shoulders. There was this electric anticipation, but underneath it, this knot in my stomach that whispered, what if I can't fix everything they need me to fix? And you know what hit me? This felt so familiar. It reminded me of being the family problem solver, the one who coordinates everything, who everyone calls when things fall apart. I carried that role with pride for years, but suddenly I was seeing the cost. What if leadership could feel different? That's when I had this revelation. What if I could reject these limiting archetypes entirely, not just at work, but everywhere? What if there was a completely different way to lead? So today, let's explore how we can move beyond these constraining roles, create something magnificent in their place. I'm going to share some insights from my work with organizations and leaders, and together we'll build a blueprint for leadership that honors who we really are. I've been thinking about how this journey really began for me. The models they presented felt completely disconnected from my reality as a Black woman. And I realized this discomfort wasn't just uncomfortable, it was actually harmful to how I naturally wanted to lead. Here's what I want us to consider: I wasn't alone in this struggle. Think about Tiana Burke. She had to create entirely new frameworks when she was building the Me Too movement. Traditional advocacy models just couldn't capture what sexual violence survivors were actually experiencing. Or Kimberly Crenshaw, who revolutionized legal thinking because existing frameworks couldn't address the multiple dimensions of discrimination that we as Black women face. This pattern was undeniable in my own life. I was seeing brilliant Black women in different aspects of my life, leading community organizations, managing church ministries, running their own businesses, all creating innovative approaches that were rarely recognized as the leadership brilliance they truly were. I felt it in my body: the tension, the exhaustion, the constant feeling of swimming upstream without a paddle. This pattern wasn't just appearing in my professional life, it was also showing up at home, in my community involvement, even in my spiritual spaces. Now, let's talk about what happens when I decided to try something different at SEIU. I faced intense resistance while trying to build coalitions for systemic change. The expectation was clear: fix everything yourself, be the face of this transformation, and carry all of the risk. I remember this one board meeting. It's actually an earlier board meeting for me. I proposed a collaborative approach instead of presenting myself as having all of the answers. The silence was defeating. People were genuinely uncomfortable with this shift in leadership style. And you know what was interesting? I got a similar reaction when I tried to redistribute responsibilities in my family. When I suggested we rotate who hosts holiday gatherings instead of it always being at my house, There was real confusion. But you're so good at it, they said. Those compliments that function as handcuffs. Instead of backing down, I decided to lean into this discomfort across all areas of my life. I developed what I now call an integrated approach, building collective capacity rather than positioning myself as the heroic problem solver. The emotional journey was turbulent, moments where I questioned if I was letting people down. But it was followed by these incredible breakthroughs when people started stepping into their own leadership. What felt revolutionary was finding ways to thrive through this navigation, not just enduring the challenges, but finding genuine joy and fulfillment by refusing to accept the limited narratives others try to impose. So here's what happened next. The results were transformative across every area of my life. The organization moved from decades of stagnation to measurable action within a year. We increased our impact matrices by almost 70%, while actually reducing burnout among those who traditionally carried most of the work. Family dynamics shifted beautifully. My niece told me something powerful. I never realized I could handle this, Auntie, until you gave me the space to try. In my community work, I focused on building leadership capacity in others rather than being the face of every initiative. The ripple effect was incredible. More people engaged, more diverse perspectives included, more sustainable impact created. And personally, I experienced a profound shift in my leadership identity across all domains. Constant anxiety of trying to be everything for everyone was replaced by liberating certainty. Authentic, collective leadership was not just possible, it was far more effective and sustainable. But the most magnificent discovery, when we reject these limiting archetypes in all areas of our lives, we don't just avoid burnout, we unlock entirely new possibilities for joyful, sustainable leadership impacts that extend far beyond ourselves. Let's explore 3 principles that can help you create this shift in your own leadership. Think of these as tools you can start using immediately. So, the first one, recognize and reject the archetype trap. Here's what I want us to consider first. You'll need to develop awareness of when you're being positioned in these roles. Listen for the language like, we've been waiting for someone like you, or this has never worked before, but maybe you can fix it. When taking on any leadership role, ask yourself, am I being positioned as the heroic problem solver? Are the expectations realistic given the available resources? Is this about collective transformation or individualism? These questions reveal the archetype trap instantly. The liberating truth is that recognizing these traps isn't about avoiding leadership challenges. It's about approaching them from a position of strength and clarity that allows you to thrive rather than just survive. The second principle, revolutionize success metrics. Now let's talk about how we measure success. Instead of focusing on individual heroics, we need measures that celebrate collective capacity building and systemic change. Now, this is where I get excited. I created a dashboard at SEIU that measured how many team members were empowered to implement solutions, not how many problems I personally solved. That energy transformed when people felt their contributions were genuinely valued. The emotional reward of this shift is immense. Instead of carrying the exhausting burden of being everyone's savior, you experience the joy of watching your entire team, your family, your community develop their leadership capacity and thrive alongside you. And the third and final principle, build expansive leadership models that honor your full humanity. Here's what I need us to understand. Leadership models that require you to compartmentalize parts of yourself are fundamentally flawed. Your cultural wisdom, your lived experience, your joy, your creativity, these are not things to minimize. They are your greatest leadership assets. This means integrating community care into professional settings, bringing your authentic voice to family dynamics, honoring your full self everywhere. When you lead with your full humanity, you create permission for others to do the same. That's how you transform entire organizational cultures, family systems, community dynamics. At SEIU, we instituted regular vision sessions. We moved beyond immediate problems to imagine what transformative justice actually looked like in practice. The energy and innovation that emerged when people could bring their full selves to these conversations was extraordinary. Remember, thriving while navigating leadership challenges is not about having fewer problems to solve. It's about approaching those problems with your full brilliance, supported by collective wisdom, guided by an expansive vision for what's possible. Let me share a situation that comes up all the time in my coaching work. A leader was promoted to lead a struggling department while chairing a school fundraiser and coordinating parent care. She said, "Everyone expects me to fix everything. I'm exhausted even before I begin." Here are 4 strategic steps. First, reset expectations from "you fix everything" to "we transform together." In your first couple of weeks, 30 days, have explicit conversations about realistic timelines and what sustainable change actually requires. Second, implement collaborative assessment. Engage collective wisdom in understanding challenges. Third, establish clear boundaries around what's realistic. Fourth and final, cultivate shared leadership models that build capacity in others. Here's what it sounds like in real life. I'm excited to join this department at such a pivotal moment. I know there are expectations that I will come with all of the answers, but I believe our success depends on tapping into the collective wisdom and commitment of everyone in this room. Over the next 3 weeks, I want to meet with each of you to understand your perspectives. Together, we'll develop a transformation roadmap that builds on our shared strengths. You can adapt the same approach for your school committee, your family care coordination. I'm telling you, the emotional transformation will be profound. Instead of carrying the isolating burden of being everyone's savior, you'll experience the joy of building collective capacity for change across all areas of your life. You'll find yourself thriving in roles that could have otherwise led to complete burnout. You deserve to experience the joy and fulfillment of leadership that doesn't require you to diminish any aspect of who you are. The world needs your full brilliance, not a reduced version that fits into someone else's limited expectations. This week, I invite you to notice where you might be stepping into savior or scapegoat roles. Pay attention to what you feel in your body when these dynamics emerge. Then ask yourself, what would leadership look like if it honored your full humanity. And now for my favorite part of the show. This is where women share their experience with my teachings.
My name is Adire Nyekwere. I am a senior program associate at the Vera Institute of Justice. Every year, the Vera Institute of Justice's Reshaping Prosecution Initiative hosts a convening for members of a group of chief elected prosecutors and their diverse allies, regardless of race, sex, or gender, who seek to advance safety and justice across the country. This group is concerned with the way that this work has been especially challenging when undertaken by Black women prosecutors, and is committed to developing strategies to overcome these obstacles. 2025 has been a difficult year for so many people. Everyone has been facing social, financial, and political changes at a rapid pace. And most people wear multiple hats, fulfilling different roles simultaneously and managing different spheres like work, family, and a social life. And when you stack all of that together with that constant change, it can feel insurmountable, especially when you don't have the tools to navigate it. What this program grapples with is the reality of those strategic challenges as they intersect with challenges that are particular to Black women leaders. This cohort was tasked with developing strategies that would equip these leaders to drive profound, lasting change to meet the needs of their communities while also navigating internal and external challenges. And so we sought a facilitator who not only understood the challenges and the landscape, but specialized in the intersectional demands of this role. The search led us to Dr. Kerry Mitchell Brown. With her guidance, we set 3 objectives for the convening. The first was to amass all the participants' existing wisdom and skills and turn them into formalized, portable tools, things they could teach each other or teach others and use more effectively themselves. The second objective was to create a space of deep trust. We needed a place where identities and obligations could be genuinely acknowledged and affirmed. Third, we wanted to build a dynamic brain trust for new and seasoned members to share and build institutional wisdom. What set Kerry apart is that she didn't make our members choose between being vulnerable and being strategic. She promoted a powerful dual mandate, radical personal truth leading to effective leadership. In Kerry's method, personal truth was the starting point for everything. She gave the cohort a structure, the RAISE framework, to transform their emotional labor into collective wisdom and strategies for prioritizing, delegating, and cutting what isn't serving them. There was a tangible mindset shift. The group moved from fighting fires to approaching every challenge like you would a game of chess. Kerry equipped the participants to stop reacting to everything coming at them. Now, they look at the whole picture, understand what's coming, and prioritize actions that protect their mission and their own well-being. To any organizational leader, especially those supporting diverse executive talent, partnering with Dr. Kerry is an investment in not only the sustainability of your top leadership, but into overall organizational health. Kerry's framework uses the power of identity as a strategy. For Black women executives, the pressure is different, and Dr. Kerry's framework is built for their reality. Dr. Kerry's approach helps participants stop spending all their energy reacting to external noise and start leading by responding from core values. That shift is the difference between a leader who burns out and one who leads with sustained purpose for decades. Most importantly, she builds an ecosystem of support, which is where the organizational impact truly begins. Our members have a sustained, intentional network, a powerful leadership cohort that serves as an ongoing brain trust. This infrastructure is culture change work. This is a living resource that upgrades itself as the group expands.
Thank you for sharing your brilliance, your compassion, and your commitment to Black women, leading with power, ease, and strategy. Until next time, lead brilliantly. Thank you for listening to Revolutionary Leadership. If today's conversation sparked something in you, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share this episode with another change maker in your life. Until next time, keep leading with purpose, joy, and revolution.